Hi, I'm Len Yule, and today we're going to be dealing with cutting string to make a Honda and then braiding a Honda with it. And most people that make braided Hondas start with 4 strings and do a 4-strand braid and then double them to make an 8-strand braid. I never really liked that because it's impossible to do a perfect change from going with the under 1 over 1 in the 4-plat, then into the under 2 over 2 in the 8-plat, and there's always a pair of strings that never get split, and it really bugged me. So several years ago I figured out how to do a 6-strand Honda where everything is an under 1 over 1, and the pieces just fall together like they grew there. So we're going to try to deal with that today. I've already split one of these strings just to get my machine set up to save time. And this is a machine that I designed myself. This is the width gauge and splitter. And this other machine over here is the beveler, and I'll move it into camera view when we get ready to use it. Okay, for splitting, I've just set my blade the width that I want. What gives you so much control splitting this way is because I'm bending the string around a 1/8 inch guide pin, and there's a mathematical principle: the angle of incidence equals the angle of deflection. So when you're dealing with a larger diameter drum that you're pulling it around, then your string is more inclined to be parallel to the blade. This allows me to get about a 45-degree angle to the blade by bending it around that narrow pin. Therefore, I have more control of it, and I can split evenly without danger of cutting my string in two. Usually, I'll take one pass, but I have a hide that has a lot of thick and thin spots. I'll usually do 2 passes with that, just knock the high spots off first. Otherwise, when you hit the thin spots, you're pulling so hard that you stress those thin pieces of string, and I want to avoid that. This hide was fairly even through, so I was able to go with that. This is a strip of hide right off the backbone of the animal that was left after cutting discs yesterday. It's not the best piece of hide, but it will do for our purpose of demonstrations. And when I'm cutting these widths, to do the end, I'll lay my grain side down just for a few inches to get it started, and then I'll turn it over, and that way it all matches up. Oh, a little goodie we were sharing yesterday. When you make up a tamale and you want to tie off the end, rather than just going one time around, you'll put a kink in your string. So I prefer to go, twice around, making a clove hitch. It'll hold it tight without any pressure, and it won't put a kink in your string. We're going to bevel all four corners of this string. I set it up earlier. I hope I'm still in the ballpark. No, I think I better tighten that down a little. If you notice, I'm beveling this string stood up on edge, which you can do with this splitter, and it makes a more accurate bevel. But if you want to work it with the grain side down the way that you would with most splitters, or most string cutters, then I do that, say, when I'm making whips. I use horsehide that has a taper from the butt to the nose, and I can put it grain side down, bevel your two grain surfaces, and it works better that way. But since this string is parallel all the way, I find it works a little bit better to stand it on edge. Another advantage to this machine being made with a flat front instead of being around a large diameter, you see how close I can get my hands into it? My fingers are just laid right up there to help control that string where it meets the blade. At the end of the day, your hand will know the difference. Won't be anywhere near as tired. Where is that little Stanley vise that we were using this morning? Because I want to start with it. Soap. Yeah. Yes, exactly. We're going to start with just a three-plat like a hair braid. And when I know I'm going to be doing a transition like this pretty quick, I'll often braid just a little bit more than I think I'm going to need. And then when I back a little bit out, it'll be more even braid than if I just braided exactly what I wanted. Okay. That's plenty there. Transition just right, you can do it any old way, but if you get it real nice top and bottom, then they just kind of look like they grew there. Where's that soap again? Soap again, yep. Thanks.
Does it matter how big an eye you make out of your three-plat up there before you transition in?
I like it pretty tight, just so that I'll use a deer antler fid to open it just so I can get through it. I want it as snug as I can get it. Now we want to braid an eye in this in order to put the end of your rope through. So I'm going to drop 3 strings and continue with the same 3-plat that we began with. Notice on the top side I went over one of my 3-plat, but you wind up doing it going under one on the back side to work out the same pattern. We didn't have a rounder here, so I had to roll this under a board, and it wasn't a real pretty board, so we didn't show it. Now I have to open that eye just a little bit. I used a deer antler fid for that, and then this is the reason that we cut a point on these strings before we got started. There. I'm going to do a doubled up 3-strand wall and crown knot, which will later get a cover knot on it. So I've taken my 6 strings and doubled them and did a doubled up 3-strand wall knot. Now I'm going to crown it.
It's pointing down. It'll come. Stay focused.
Did you file out the teeth on
Yep.
those? Okay, they look,
Yep, just took a pair. These are channel locks. They're not channel locks. I ran across this pair of pliers. They're kind of a spring-loaded thing. I ground the teeth out. A pair of channel locks at home. They're heavier, and I got a little curve in them, ground them out. Okay, that's just roughed out, and it needs to be put in a form with a bolt setting that and a lot of stretch put on it. And after it's totally dried, I would then put a pineapple knot on this and fine string to cover it and trim it off and put a burner in it. But that's the approach that I would use to make a 6-strand Honda.
Now, do you call that a San Juan, or what do you call
Technically, it's a swivel Honda. A San Juan, doesn't have a hole in it. You go through and splice it back.